Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Brown's Latest. I am Dave Grendzynski, but a lot of people call me Grizzer, and you can too, or anything close to that. And this is where we get you caught up on some of the latest news and tidbits tied to our favorite team in the NFL. Yes, it is our favorite team. No matter what happens, it is. That's the Cleveland Browns. I mean, it is. I mean, what do you want me to do? I can't help it. They're a complete mess, but, they're still our favorite team. Thank you to everybody who has liked our previous episodes, who has subscribed to the channel, or almost, boy, we are just crawling, man. Just crawling our way up to 10,000. We'll be there by the end of the week. I will change the fit when it happens. And thank you to everybody who has become a member of the Brown's Latest Dog Pound, and those of you who get your comments in the viewer comments section. And you know what? A couple of the topics today inspired by viewer comments. And then we have viewer comments that were inspired by viewer comments because they're in the viewer comment section. There's a lot of viewer comments part of this show. A lot of talk about this team as of late. And as you know, yesterday, Meltdown Monday. Today, Take a Minute Tuesday. And we'll take a minute to assess whether or not the Browns offense is as bad as we think it is. We'll also take a step back and look at what would make this quarterback situation just at least a little bit better. After melting down on Monday and announcing that we should trade Myles Garrett, I looked into the possibility, and what I uncovered is not good. And then down in the viewer comments, why we have been looking at Kevin Stefanski all wrong. Oh, all right. Well, we'll have to stick around for that. We got to find out what's going on there. But first things first, let's talk about the offense. And I said we're going to take a minute to assess whether or not the offense is as bad as we think it is. And I'm here to tell you 100% it is. It is brutal. Take a look at this. Courtesy of Underdog. These are the passes that the Flying Hawaiian threw on Sunday. 5 behind the line of scrimmage. 14 were 1 to 10 yards. Well, and one of those was to a ghost. Remember when he was in the end zone and he threw that pass? The ghost was open. He just missed him. And then 2 were in the range of 11 to 15 yards. And guess what? Both of those were touchdowns. Funny how that works. Gabriel ranks last in yards per attempt and deep ball percentage. Not good. And then we got this gem from a fan of the show and a guy I used to call games with back in the day, Brian O'Malley, who's now down in North Carolina. He said, here are our options on offense. With Joe Flacco, you throw it, and he could get it to the receiver, but the receivers dropped it. With Dylan Gabriel, he can't reach the receivers. So we're on the option B right now. And maybe Shador, option C, will be perfect because third time's a charm, right? But there's a quick look at our offensive offense and the quarterback issues, and it's just not good. And then here's the thing, people are asking, now the questions. Like somebody must have watched the show the other day when I said, "Could somebody ask how the offense could be worse by playing Shador? Like, why wouldn't we play Shador?" And his response, Kevin Stefanski, that's not my focus right now. He never answers the question. Then he was asked, okay, so can you tell me why we haven't seen from Dylan Gabriel the things you saw in him when you took him in the third round? Like, why? Like, what did you see? His response, there's 11 players on offense. Young players will learn, and the entire offense needs to be better, and Dylan will continue to learn. That was the answer. Didn't answer the question. Never answers the question, which is very frustrating for people. And he looks very annoyed now when people ask him questions. So I give Daryl Ryder especially, like he will ask these questions, and he is very critical of Dylan Gabriel. But you can ask the questions all day, so that's great. We got people who are asking these questions, but you don't get an answer. But you know what would make this whole quarterback situation a little bit better is if he would just answer some of these questions. Like, that's all it would take. Like when somebody ask you a question about Dillon Gabriel and what you saw in him, why don't you say something along the lines of, well, we loved the way he was able to process the information we were throwing at him. And, he was really good rolling out of the pocket and throwing to his left. And, we felt that could be a big part of our offense, at some point. We haven't gotten there yet, but somebody coach him up, And you always do bullet point. You always do three things. We love the way he processed. We love the way he rolled out to the left. And then we also love the way he responded when we put him under center. Those are the things we'll be working on going forward. At least that's an answer. But when somebody says, hey, why did you like Dillon Gabriel? And you go, well, there's 11 players on offense, and all the players have to be better, and Dillon will learn. It's not a good look, and it just frustrates everybody involved. Remember we compared answers with Tomlin and Stefanski a few weeks ago? And when you have a real football coach, the answers you get. Now, the other thing that this situation, if you can answer a question, it might help alleviate another situation, and it's the Shedeur Sanders situation. And now, I got onto this topic because of there were a ton of viewer comments about this. Don't get me wrong, but I just happened to, and it's not because his name is Dave. I picked this comment, and Dave's Spare Time 83 said, "Hey, fans want Sanders, but he could get clobbered in this with this offensive line and the weak wide receivers. Add that to the bad play calling." And what would make this better is if somebody asks Kevin, is the reason you're not playing Shedeur, it's because you want to keep all of your focus on making the offense better at this point and focusing on those things? And he could say, well, yes. We think Dillon needs a fair shake at this. 4 games isn't enough. We need to go at least 6 or 7 games, and then that's when we'll contemplate the switch. But to me, what would really make this better is to say Shedeur will play game blank. Because here's the deal: our chances of making the playoffs now are pretty much on the train heading out of town, with slim and none. And so at this point, I think you can just level with everybody and say, here's how we're doing this the rest of the way. Gabriel gets 1 or 2 more games. Shedeur gets the rest of them. We got to see where we're at with our quarterbacks heading into next year. Done. And now everybody stops asking and bitching and moaning and everything else. Because that's where we're at now, folks. Now, not good for the rest of the team because they're just like, ugh, this is just this is a preseason the rest of the way. But that's what it's going to be. So Miles will be throwing his helmet a lot more. But that's what would make this situation better in my mind if there was just some transparency, if there was just an answer to some questions. But we get no answers. We get the same thing. That press conference that we sat through, like just for those couple of minutes, and how many times he's like, we got to get better, we got to get better, we got to get better, And then it's I understand the question, but we got to get better. That's all we get. I understand the question, but we got to get better. Everybody has to get better. We got to get better, better. That's it. They need some media training over there. Call me, Brownies. Call me. I can help. Happy to help, unless you want Miles throwing his helmet every weekend. Speaking of Miles. Now, okay. People got on me. We can't trade Myles Garrett. You got a no trade clause. Can't trade Myles Garrett. Blah, 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 blah. I know. Here's the thing. On Meltdown Monday, you can say whatever you want because you're melting down. Like, that's what happens. Like, there's no logic involved. You just melt down. You know how it goes. When you melt down, it's a meltdown. And I melted down. And I said, let's trade Miles. Now, here's the thing. The no trade clause, they can make no trade clauses go away. If both parties are ready to mutually part, then yes, the no trade clauses can't go away. That's not the problem. The problem was pointed out to me. Well, I knew when, it's always about the cap first. Remember that. It's always follow the money, The Wire. You ever watch The Wire? Follow the money. Before you make any move in sports, you have to follow the money. whether it's a trade, whether you're signing somebody, whether you're buying a bag of baseballs, what doesn't matter. You have to start with the money. And so I know the money, that's a problem. But it was Meltdown Monday. Can I just have my meltdown, please? But and I'm going to give him his due. Because, I mean, he's not wrong. Elite 983, who jumped on me in the comments and said, trading Miles is one of the dumbest takes I have heard in a while. And remember, we are in the Shador era. The cap hit alone would not make it feasible, just straight ridiculousness. Ridiculousness is a great show, by the way, on MTV with Rob Dyrdek, also from Ohio, from the Dayton area. We took the kids to the skate park. It was by a friend of mine, Rob Dyrdek skate park, when they were small. This was a while ago. But Rob Dyrdek, very proud of what he has done, and he's always talking about Ohio. But I digress. Let's get back to me having the most ridiculous take in the history of takes. Now, it was a meltdown. There's a Meltdown Monday, they're not really takes. They're like meltdowns. So there's a difference. But you are absolutely right about the cap situation in Myles Garrett. If they tried to trade him, we would take a massive hit. The dead money charge would be $36 million, at least $36 million in dead money, which is a prorated amount of bonuses and guarantees remaining on the contract. Dead money reflects amounts paid to Garrett that still count against the cap, even though he would no longer be on the roster. There's also the loss of cap space, which we would lose about $16.5 million unless, compared to keeping him on the roster. So that would push the... Now remember, we're trying to get out from under this Watson thing. And that's the whole problem with this as well. Because we're waiting for this year. We're waiting for them to declare Watson unable to play the rest of the season. And then we're going to get some of that money back with that insurance. It's going to be good. And so you would take a step forward to take a step back if we traded Myles, And then you have the June 1st trade option, though. Let's look ahead to next summer. If the Browns waited until June 1st to trade him, they could spread the dead money hits over 2 years. That would be $15.8 million counting against the 25 salary cap, and then $25 million counting against next year's cap. So if you waited until June 1st, you could spread it out a little bit. But either way, a massive cap hit is a massive cap hit. And so trading Myles Garrett, it's always about the money. It's always about the money. Just like when I say, we talk about this, bringing guys in like Garrett Wilson. Can't trade for Garrett Wilson because we can't afford him right now. And that goes back to Watson. Everything goes back to Watson with us and our money situation. Even trying to trade Myles Garrett after the best game of his career in a season that looks like he's going nowhere fast, you're not gonna be able to do it. And it is only in Cleveland that stuff like that happens. And so trading Myles is not going to happen, but what is always happening are the viewer comments. And we are now to the actual viewer comment portion of the program. And Don Hamilton says the reason that the tight ends were shut down on Sunday is because the Patriots defensive coordinator made in-game adjustments, something we never see in Cleveland. And that is the other big talk now with Stefanski. I mean, we've been talking about it here for weeks. Actually, years. I've been talking about it with my buddies. But we don't make adjustments. He is in over his head. And you also have to see this thing. The greatest talent evaluator nobody knows, Strassel Vulu, sent me. It's Joe Klatt, who I really like. He's a college football analyst for Fox. And I saw it. He sent it. The thing I saw was on Instagram, I think. But it's Joe Klatt talking about head coaches who also call plays. And he said in the college game now, he says it's so much like the pro game, you cannot do both. You can't be a play caller and be the head coach. And he talked about all of the same reasons I say Kevin Stefanski should have given up the play calling 5 years ago. Not just this. I've been saying this for 5 years. He can't do both. Because remember, thing right in front of us all the time. We got this in front of us all the time, and we can't see what's going on around us. And that's what Joe Klatt talks about. He says that exact same thing. And he said that is why Ryan Day, Ohio State's head coach, gave up the play calling. Because he said he talked about it openly. Day said, I can't see the whole team. So when the defense falters, he goes over. He's able to go over to the defense and get involved in those talks. But if he's calling plays, he's got to sit there and call plays. This is why, and Schwartz is doing a great job with the defense, but this whole team is coming apart, and he's so worried, and the offense is his, and it's the worst. And the rest of the team looks at it and goes, well, he's in charge of that, and that's the worst thing we got going for us. So what is that? So how do you look at him as a leader at that point? He can't even lead the offense. Can't do one thing right. This to me is the clearest thing that in the history of Cleveland sports, Stefanski and these play calls. I just don't get it, man. And again, where is the adult in the room? This is like the Baker Mayfield thing all over again. Can somebody, Haslam, be the adult in the room and go to them and say, you're not calling the plays anymore? Actually, no, here. Let me hold the door for you. That's what he needs to do. But find that video from Joe Klatt and just instead of Ryan Day, just put Kevin Stefanski in there. And that's exactly, and get it to Stefanski so he can hear this because he needs to hear it because that's exactly what I've been saying for 5 years. Joe Klatt. Anyway, I digressed again. But Don Hamilton, good take on the tight ends. Dave's Spare Time 83 makes another appearance. He said, if the Browns had better quarterbacks like Mayfield and good wide receivers, they'd be winning. It's not the coach. Dave, it is the coach, 100%. It's all of it because we drafted a guy in the third round that probably, he may not have been drafted at all if we didn't take him. And then we got a guy who was projected to be a first-round talent sitting on the bench who can't even get on the field. So you tell me what the problem is. The problem is the coach. Big Slim, 7387. Grizzer. We've been looking at Stefanski all wrong. This is what we teased at the top. Big Slim, this is great. Grizzer, we've been looking at Stefanski all wrong. He develops quarterbacks, but just not for the Browns. Yep, look at Flacco. Look at Mayfield. Look at Snoop Huntley. Look at what he did. Jeez, oh man. But Big Slim, you cracked me up with that one. That was a great one. Eric Stevens. Don't trade Miles. Big mistake. He just wants to win. Yeah, he wants to win, but he also wanted to get paid. And now he got paid, and we can't trade him because it's a cap hit. And so, Eric, you don't have anything to worry about. It would cost us too much in cap space, so it's not going to happen. Jimmy Gates of Silk. He says, Wrecking Ball would be a good theme song for Meltdown Monday. Yes, he's right, because every Monday we do feel like we got hit by a wrecking ball because we watched the Brownies on Sunday. But Brian O'Malley mentioned to me that Prince is the one who wrote Manic Monday for the Bengals. So maybe, we can't get Prince. Although, Prince was the man. I love those Charlie Murphy stories with Prince. Those are great from the Dave Chappelle show. Those are awesome. I love those. But Charlie Murphy. But the Bengals, maybe we can get a Meltdown Monday song from the Bengals. But that Wrecking Ball is a good option. Jimmy Gates of Silk, which is a great YouTube handle, by the way. Jimmy Gates of Silk. That's classic. And we will end today with Tim Green, who simply says what every single Browns fan in the entire universe thinks every single season. Tim Green says, we just want to win. And that's right. That's all we want to do is win. And we're going on 40 years now of this nonsense and tomfoolery and just embarrassment. Everybody's clowning us. Vrabel's clowning us in his press conferences. RG3, although RG3, he nailed it. He was right. RG3's crushing us. Like everybody, everywhere is just crushing this offense and saying, what if they could only score some points? Wait, who runs their offense? Oh, yeah, the head coach. So wait, he must be really good. No, he's only won 5 games in 3 years? Really? Wow. Well, I guess it makes sense to keep him around. That's the other thing. So we wanted some consistency in it, but if you hired the wrong guy, you hired the wrong guy. This guy is not it. And I've known it for 5 years. He's not. We need a Tomlin type in here. Oh, he did have that guy, Vrabel, but we let him go too. We let him walk to Sean Payton. All these guys that I wanted, they're all at other places doing great things. So there we go. All right, we'll keep. We're working our way out of it. We'll just keep. Hey, will be a lot of viewer comments this week. We're in the bye week, so we'll be fueling the show with you and some other items as we move along through the bye week. Thank you so much for joining us and for getting us so close to 10,000 subscribers. Boy, it's going to be something else when we get there. All right, go Browns. We'll see you next time.